Hi everybody, welcome to TADTalk again. It is Tuesday, August 25th here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm joined by a very, very special guest presenter today. Welcome my co-host, Julia Tramer.
Hi.
Now, quick question, are you nervous?
I am.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, I like it. Nick's behind the scenes today. He's actually doing the mixing, so if you see any screw-ups on here, it's his fault. But we've got a very special guest that you know well, right?
I do, yes.
Let's learn a little bit more about Jason Chapman.
That's awesome. It might fool me. It might fool me. Has anyone ever done that before?
That's actually quite magical right there. It's actually really impressive.
It sounds massive.
I've never heard so much detail. I can't even believe it. The little mechanism noises.
The mic choices is on a different level.
There's really no limitations.
And just all the things that make it feel like I'm playing my piano.
Yeah, it feels like I'm playing a real piano.
This is quite alive to me.
It's really, really good. That's perfect. This is like a real piano, but it's in the box.
Boy, I'm looking forward to this one, being a piano player. Welcome to the show, Jason Chapman. Jason, how are you?
Great, how are you guys?
Great, good to have you on the show. Where are you coming from? Where are you right now?
I'm in London, Ontario, stuck in my COVID office here at home. So.
Yeah, we've all got COVID offices. London, Ontario. Tell me about London, Ontario. Where is it?
So London, Ontario is just west of Toronto, and that's where I went to college, and Jason was one of my professors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did he teach you?
A little bit of everything. He was my entertainment law teacher. We did some engineering theory. He taught me how to use Pro Tools and Logic, all that kind of stuff. So we did a little bit of everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're the person responsible for all the mixes she gives us now.
Only if they're great.
Well, it's great to have you on the show. We start TADTalk only one way every time, and that's with 3 random Nick Davies questions, which today are 3 random Julia Tramer questions. All yours, Julia.
Okay, so we're going to start with the first one here. If one theme park offered you free admission for the rest of your life, which theme park would you want it to be?
Oh boy, it's got to be Canada's Wonderland.
Canada's one. I love
Yeah.
Canada's Wonderland. I actually took Nick there when we went to Canada a couple years ago, and we did Halloween Haunt, which was my favorite event that they did, and Nick absolutely loved it.
Nice. Where would yours be?
Probably Disneyland, but Canada's Wonderland might be a close second or third.
Okay. Mine would
Yeah,
be
Canada's Wonderland. They have.
Mine would be Tokyo Disney,
That's an amazing park.
but they'd have to include the flight as well.
Free flights anytime you want to go.
There you go.
Okay, in their heyday, would you have liked to visit Graceland, Abbey Road Studios, Studio 54, or Woodstock?
Oh, it's got to be Abbey Road.
Abbey Road. Abbey Road is amazing. I don't know if you know, I posted some photos and videos of stuff, but was it last year?
It was about 14 months ago.
14 months ago, Nick, my fiance that you were just speaking to, recorded some of his music in Abbey Road Studio 2. And being from Liverpool, of course, he's a massive Beatles fan, so that was kind of a dream come true, and I got to sit and watch that happen and check out the desk. So it's an amazing place.
It was amazing, Tim. We went in there. He Studio 2, so the control room is way above, looking down on it. That's where you get those great pictures. And we were looking down on 2 grand pianos, and there's a couple of old guys there in their early 70s, and we were chatting. He says, okay, so you got 2 grands down there. The one on the left is the Hey Jude piano. The one on the right is the Let It Be piano. And that's how they describe them. And in fact, we're going to go to a clip right now of Nick playing Lady Madonna on the Lady Madonna piano down at Abbey Road Studio 2.
Insane.
Go.
That is insane.
When
lady, and apparently I just called you Tim, and that's because the engineer at Abbey Road was Tim Hamill on the day. So that's my excuse, but it was a great day. I'm with you, Abbey Road. Absolutely.
Awesome. And your last question here. If you went to jail, what would your friends assume you did to land yourself behind bars?
Oh, probably espionage.
That was quick. Is that against any particular country or government or?
Well, I can't say. Well, you're.
Yeah, we might beep that out. Oh, no, put it up. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Wow, that's great. Well, thanks for being on the show. This is going to be a blast, Jason. I'd love to know a little bit more about what you do, but not really what you do now, but how you fell into doing this, what you're doing that resulted in that amazing plugin, I guess is the best way to describe it, that you've created.
Sure. Where do we want to start? Like, are we talking like?
Yeah, let's talk at the beginning, how you started getting into the tech side of things.
Yeah, I grew up in northern Ontario, so if it's like Minnesota, but the nearest town is like 60 miles away. So if you want to do anything musical, you have to basically do it yourself. So technology was the way for me. So it was like get a sequencer, get a keyboard, plug it all in, and then be the one-man band. So it all started with that. And then I got a sampler and I started recording some sounds. And when I went to university in London here, I recorded the grand piano on stage and turned it into an instrument then, and just kind of got hooked on the whole technology and how sound can be manipulated in it.
Amazing, amazing. I started, so you can tell from me, I started at the beginning. I started with a Commodore 64 computer.
Oh, I had one of those too.
Yeah, early days. I had a Juno 106 and was trying to figure a way how you can trigger this. This was I think drum machines were just moving from the beatboxes to the programmable machines. And I remember when we bought a Roland MC500 sequencer, which meant I had 4 whole tracks of sequencing ability. Yeah, those were the days. And the first sampler was, let me think, I think it was called an Ensoniq Mirage, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, the old 8-bit, yeah.
Yeah, so I think you had 2 seconds of sample, then you'd loop. So you go, great strings.
And nothing sounded like what you recorded into.
No, and you know what's amazing? You even found tricks in the studio where you got this 2-second piece of string, but your string note was about 6 seconds, so you'd play the note overlapped every second, so the tone would overlap the loop.
Nice, so you could hide the loop.
Yeah, exactly. Those were the days. Those are the days, pre-Pro Tools and Logic. So tell us about the plugin. The plugin's really interesting to me, how you've taken the concept of a digital piano but just made it feel like the nuts and bolts of playing something real.
Yeah, I tried to pump it up on steroids a bit. So I was never really happy with sampled pianos. So what ended up happening is I went into the studio with a couple of artists, and when I was setting up the studio, I had all the microphones all the microphones set up, and after I recorded these 2 artists for the day in the studio, I thought, why not pluck out the notes and see if I can make a sample out of it, with the idea that if they made any mistakes, which they did, I could just replace the notes with MIDI afterwards, and that ended up being the first product that I made. So that's where that's coming from. That was the first product, but I have since added those. The second one I did was all hand sampled, so imagine sitting at a Steinway piano. This one was actually a Kawai piano, the one that I did by hand, and it was 7 days of just 8-hour days of plucking notes out and waiting for them to ring. But you can't make any noises. Like, I found out that my nose hisses, like when I breathe out, and the microphone can actually pick it up. So then, how do you like hold your breath while you're holding down a note? And then your stomach would obviously make some noises if you just had lunch before that. So I'd be wrapping like these blankets that you use for moving around my stomach so that it wouldn't bleed into the microphone while you're doing it. So That's just so it was a great sounding instrument, but it just didn't have the same consistency if you had like a robot or some sort of mechanical system to make it perfect. Right? So
That's incredible. Have you played Jason's plugin on the?
I haven't played it myself, but when I was in school with Jason, he would often bring up videos of how he was recording it, and we'd talk about techniques, and he would use play it as an example and kind of that kind of stuff. So I've definitely heard it and seen it, and it's amazing. And I was actually showing Nick yesterday your Death Piano and the Halfling, which I absolutely love both of those. So some awesome stuff in there. And you actually built a robot to do the first version, right?
I did it for Concert Grand, which was the 4th product that I released out, and I had to build it because I couldn't find a Steinway that had MIDI in it, and if I did, I'd have to travel somewhere to like Japan or somewhere to get it. There it is. There you can see the solenoid there. So this robot, that people are seeing this live, right? So they can see that keyboard with the 12 notes on it, not quite an octave. And I had to engineer this thing. I literally brought it down to the engineering department at the university here in town in order for them to figure out what the depths had to be for each of these and calibrate the system in order to play this. So the idea was to get a perfect piano sound consistent across every single note. So then if someone played a note at a velocity of 10, it would sound exactly the same across the keyboard. So I had to find the solenoids, research voltages, what power supplies should be used, how to trigger these from MIDI, and get the whole system going. And it was kind of like a Frankenstein contraption by the time we got it going. So I ended up going into the studio with it, and the engineer set up the session. And this was in Toronto at Phase 1. They're no longer open, but it was a famous studio in Toronto that did Kiss and some other albums in the 70s, that, a lot of Canadian artists as well. And when we got into the studio, it took me 7 hours to set up the solenoids in the system. And this was on I think we had 5 days to record. And when you have 5 days to record, you take the first half of the first day just to set up the machine. And you kind of get nervous that you're not going to get the whole project done. So we ended up getting it done though. So
Wow.
yeah, it took a year to kind of prototype the thing and get it going. So.
That's incredible. We're going to take a short break. After the break, we're going to find out from Jason who's actually using this plugin, any famous recordings we know about. But I've got a specific question about the plugin that I can't wait to ask. We'll see you after the break.
Life is a journey, and everybody's going somewhere. Why wait for the fun to start when you reach your destination? With TAD Travel, the fun starts the moment you leave your door, wherever you're going, and however you want to get there. We've got it covered. TAD Travel. We're going places. Are you coming with us?
And we're back with our special guest, Jason Chapman. So I've got a question about the plugin, Jason. Very important. I noticed on the little promo video that you're able to flick between different microphones and different settings. But is there a setting on there for the Jason nose hiss? Is that an option?
Yeah.
No?
No, you probably can get it if you turn up the gain big time on anything that.
Yeah, maybe you could sell that sample for those people.
You know what? Part of the samples I actually did was like walking into the studio. So on any of the products like Concert Grand and Production Grand 2, on the lower end of the keyboard, like way off past A-1, I put in all the Foley sound effects. So that was me actually squeaking a bench and like lifting up the music stand, and one of them was actually opening and closing the studio door. So then they're kind of like hidden Easter eggs. Unless you read the manual, you can't really find them because you have to go below the keyboard in order to play it. Right? There's 126 notes on MIDI instead of just the 88 on the keyboard.
All our tech crew are now going into all the plugins for Easter eggs. We're searching for them everywhere. This is great. So you've done this. Obviously, you've created this incredible plugin that's being used by producers and video gamers all over the world. What does the future hold for you? Have you got any aspirations to create something different, something new?
I've got a big product in the go right now. It's a huge Yamaha piano, a CFX. And each time I go in, I try and push the limits of technology. So this one's well over a terabyte in size and have some nice Amsonics microphones on it, as well as that was on Concertgram as well. So I always have to push the limits while still being able to serve my customers, make sure that I'm providing good value and actually use the products that I get. So
yeah, absolutely. It's come a long way from the pseudo piano sound on a Juno 106, or even the electric piano on a Yamaha DX7. Now that was something else. We dreamed about those days. I'll never forget when the DX7 come out. I mean, everyone was geeking out about it, and they were hard to get. And I remember I got one and bought a chorus pedal to put on that piano. That's on every single recording from that year. But the highlight was when I had two DX7s on stage with me. Don't ask me why, because it did exactly the same thing, but I had two. So it was a big deal.
Have it in the background there.
There you go. Yeah, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Nice. Nice. Yeah, prior to the DX7, we used to tour with a Fender Rhodes and a Wurlitzer and a B3 with two Leslies.
Oh, nice. I've got a Hammond CV in the basement with a Leslie 122.
Yeah, can't beat it.
We should put that up for the whole interview.
So, do you have questions for Jason?
Yeah, actually, I just had a viewer question come up, actually. Which is your favorite sample piano that you've created? Mine is actually the Halfling, which I mentioned earlier. But what's your favorite?
Mine's probably the Daft Piano, actually, because what I did a few summers ago, I was rendering out these files. They take forever to render because in a computer you have to remove all the noise and my nostril noise and so on, right? So Daft Piano is my favorite because I literally took everything that was junk that I had, samples I couldn't sell, and I tortured them. I beat them up. I put them backwards. I ran them through some cool effects. And today, it is my best-selling piano sample library. And it only took me like a month to put together. And it's like crazy how these things happen, right? I spend 2 years building a big product, and the product that I just kind of threw together with, some old samples that I couldn't sell on their own, becomes the product that's my best seller.
Yeah, it's such an interesting field, and for anybody out there who's not an expert but just a layman viewer, we're talking about real instruments that are being recreated digitally so that when you hear them, they sound like it's a 50-year-old Bosendorfer or a Stradivarius from 200 years ago, and yet it sounds so real, and it's come so far. That part of the industry has come so far. Frightening to think how much memory we need now. You just mentioned a terabyte. Crazy, crazy stuff. For those people who are on Twitter hashtagging us about us, we have our social wall here. It's our TADTalk social wall, and there was one. Jason's piano was just on there. We just lost it, but go on and can you see it a little bit down there? Yeah. Go on and tag TADTalk about all our great guests. Jason Chapman is our guest today from London, Ontario. Have you spent much time down here in the Southwest, Jason? We're in Phoenix, Arizona, where our average temperature is like 1,000 degrees every morning. You spent much time down here?
I had a conference that I went to in Phoenix. It was an amazing city. Great food. I was right downtown and just walked around, and I think I was there at exactly the time that Rihanna was playing a concert at the big stadium. And basically, there were so many people in the hotel for the Rihanna concert that I had to move outside of the city because the rates that day were just insane for the hotel.
Yeah. It's a big city now. It's the 5th largest city in the U.S., just overtook Philadelphia. So everybody's coming to the heat.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
I'm loving the public transit. I love that you could see the rail cars just going through them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a question for my co-presenter here today, Julia. I want you to tell me the very best thing about Jason as a teacher, as an educator to you. But I also want you to tell me the very worst thing about Jason as a teacher, as an educator to you.
Okay.
Best and worst.
The best is definitely his humor. I remember so many times through school where he would come out with just the funniest little lines that sometimes you wouldn't catch and sometimes you would. And I remember actually the first class that I had with Jason, we had a large theater, kind of like our TCS stage, but we had a large lecture hall with a big screen and digital piano, whole band setup kind of thing. And Jason came into class and plugged in his computer and didn't say anything, and his computer screen background came up, and it was a picture of Jimmy Page with Nicolas Cage's face on it, and it said Jimmy Cage. And it was just one of those funny moments where, you know, it's just so funny and he's not acknowledging it at all. Like, it's just a normal, it was just really funny. I remember that. The worst part was in we called it Diggle, which was our digital audio workstations class, so Pro Tools and Logic and all that stuff. And our practical exam, we'd go into the room and sit with Jason, and he'd have a giant clock on the wall. So we'd be looking at that, and he'd give us a list of things to do in Pro Tools. So cut here, paste here, do this kind of thing. But he wouldn't let us use the mouse unless we absolutely had to. So we had to do everything with key commands, and we're watching that clock and trying to remember, oh God, is it Command or Alt or Shift so those were tough, but I tell you, it got it engraved in my brain by the end of that quiz. Yeah.
I bet. Jason, I've got the same question for you. As a student, what's the very best thing about Julia? And as a student, what is the very worst thing you remember about Julia?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
Good.
I think the best part about it is, like, music industry arts, the course was all about community, and Julia always came and she showed up and always participated. You could always see her face in class, and I think that was the most rewarding thing as a teacher, to see someone there participating and just bringing a great attitude. So,
Cool. Don't hold back on this one. I want to know what the bad was.
I'm trying to think of Julia's practical. That's what I'm thinking. You know, it's like, what would be for her put on the spot? But, you know, I don't have any memories of anything bad. Sorry, I can't. But,
Good
okay.
student.
All right, you got to pass. This has been a great show. I'm loving it. I can't wait to delve into the plugin. Actually, I don't play too much these days. I got a piano at home, and I've got Logic and Pro Tools, and we bang around a little bit. But I'm gonna pick up your plugin and play around and look for that nose hiss. I'm gonna find it in the Easter egg somewhere. Jason, we have a question that we ask every single guest on TADTalk, and this is it. If you could spend the next 60 minutes with any two people, now these could be dead or alive, people you've known, family, or celebrities, or musicians, or anything, and go one place in the world with them, who would you like to spend the next hour with? Where are you going to go with them, and what are you going to talk about?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I'm going to go with the great philosopher Marcus Aurelius, and maybe I'll go in the middle of, Germany at the time he was there.
Yeah.
What are they? Germania at the time, when Rome was trying to take over.
Yeah.
So that would be pretty awesome to see the Roman Empire at its height, and then just to see how a warrior nation has such a philosopher, right? So there's my heady thing.
Yeah. And who's going with you?
Who's going with me? Oh man, I'd probably go by myself, but in experience, maybe I'd take my brother.
Yeah?
Cool. You see some Roman catapults or something.
Pretty amazing. That is the first time we've had Marcus Aurelius. Never had that one before. We've had a lot of people. But that's cool. Yeah?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What a great show. This has been fun. I can't wait to delve down this into this plugin. Thanks so much for being on the show, Jason. This has been a blast.
Great.
What's the weather like in London, Ontario, by the way, right now?
Today's a cloudy day. I think we've got 27 degrees. So that's Celsius. So
84.
84, 85.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm looking out the window right now. That's why I'm seeing my recycle bin has to be brought in as the neighbors walk by.
Well, we're coming to the end of our monsoon season, so we're hoping for a last-minute chuck down of rain. But again, thanks so much for being on the show. Thank you for being our special co-presenter.
Of course.
Now, how bad was it?
wasn't so bad.
It was easy,
wasn't so
right?
bad. I mean, luckily I know Jason, so you know that helped.
Okay, good. Well, you can have one of the next few guests, and we'll see how you do on that.
Okay.
To everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us on TAD Talk. We've got our 100th episode coming up pretty soon. Thanks again to Jason. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our sponsors, and we'll see you on another episode of TAD Talk tomorrow. Take care, guys. Bye.